People-pleasing and over-efforting tendencies often ramp up during the holidays for many of us, and when they do, they can drain our energy, affect our mood, and leave us exhausted and worn out. But these patterns can be changed so that you experience less overwhelm and pressure and more meaning and enjoyment. Over many years as a therapist and now as a therapeutic coach, I've helped many clients shift out of unhelpful people-pleasing patterns, and I've done this work in my own life too. In this video, I'll show you 3 people-pleasing examples, specific scenarios where people-pleasing habits can crop up, and then I'll show you what those same moments can look like when you step out of your old roles so that you can get a sense of what life can be like when we honor our own limits, rights, needs, and wants. Before I get into this, I want to acknowledge that the examples I'm using kind of center around Christmas specifically, which of course isn't a holiday everyone celebrates, but these patterns show up in all kinds of family dynamics and gatherings throughout the year. So even if Christmas isn't a part of your life, it can still be helpful to understand these patterns. The holiday season can be a useful backdrop for talking about people-pleasing. It's a time when expectations and obligations kind of pile up. We have other people's expectations, our own internal pressure, and all the stories we carry about what this season is supposed to look like. And often this comes with a big dose of sentimentality that's reinforced all over the place. I even heard a Thanksgiving song recently, which was a first because I didn't know those existed. And it was about families being together again after a long time apart and not skipping a beat. And it kind of made me tear up because it pulled on my heartstrings. And that's saying nothing about Christmas songs that do the same thing and are played in public places for at least a month, if not starting right after Halloween, right? Now, I love me some Karen Carpenter, but I think we can all agree that this season can get a bit over-romanticized. And we all know that what's in these sentimental songs is not always reality, especially these, super special moments that take hours and hours of effort by someone behind the scenes. But many of us get taken in by the traditions and the sentiments and family roles and the urge to create something meaningful for everyone, which can easily turn into overdoing, overfunctioning, and just that striving and pushing and pressure that leaves many of us totally drained by the 1st of January. Even though the holidays amplify these patterns, they're not unique to this time of year, as I mentioned. They're really the same habits that many women with people-pleasing and overachieving tendencies have in daily life, like trying not to disappoint anyone, trying to be the one who keeps everything running smoothly, trying to meet standards and expectations from others, taking responsibility for everyone's feelings. The holidays are really just a condensed version of dynamics that play out all year long for those of us who have these tendencies. And often, how we navigate stressors and relationship dynamics, specifically around the holidays, is how we handle our relationships, responsibilities, and expectations in general. So the examples in this video can give you a chance to see these patterns more clearly, to identify if any are familiar in your life, and to understand what drives the exhaustion, resentment, and the sense of being stretched too thin. And as you'll see in these examples, it actually is possible to change them and to have limits, set boundaries, and honor your own needs and wants in a way that puts them equal to everyone else's. And to really treat yourself with the same care and kindness that you treat others. Okay, so example number 1. I see this one as a combination of a few different themes of people-pleasing. And if you haven't heard me talk about this before, I go over 12 different people-pleasing themes in a free workbook that I offer on my website. It's called the People-Pleasing Primer. And I also go over a few of them in my first video in this series. So you can refer to those for more information on themes. This first example is a combination of the peacekeeper theme and the good girl or nice person theme with a little bit of helper caretaker theme thrown in. I'll just call this combination the emotional cruise director. So picture this. You're at your aunt's house for a holiday gathering. The house is warm and crowded and full of holiday energy. You hear all the familiar voices in the room. Your aunt sighs in a passive-aggressive kind of way and mutters something about people never helping as she rushes around like crazy. Her tone lands a little too sharply, and your dad rolls his eyes in a way that signals he's about to get into the annual debate about who does more and works harder. And your body reacts before your brain does, and you feel kind of a tiny jolt of vigilance. You scan the room to try to see, who's tense, who's irritated, and what might need adjusting. And you swoop in and say to your aunt, let me grab that. Why don't you sit down? You've been on your feet all day. Then you redirect the conversation and bring your dad a drink and usher him to the living room. You continue to do your thing, smiling and fawning and bringing people food and bringing people to other rooms and changing conversations, trying to make everyone comfortable, almost as if you're on autopilot and you don't even feel like you're really choosing to do it anymore. You know you want to avoid conflict at all costs, and on the outside you look gracious and easygoing, the glue that keeps everyone comfortable. You realize you really know how to keep the peace because you learned early that it was safer that way. But inside, you're anxious and you're not having any fun. So at the end of the night, everyone is saying what a great time they had and how lovely everything was, but you're the only one who knows just how much emotional labor made all of that possible. Your shoulders are tight and you have a headache and you're exhausted, but you still have a full night ahead of you at home, getting ready for Christmas morning. Anything sound familiar there? Before I tell you about what it can look like when you step out of this role, I want to encourage you to download the free workbook, The People Pleasing Primer. As I mentioned, it has 12 themes of people pleasing, along with checklists so that you can track how the patterns show up in your life. The link is below this video in the description. So here's what it can look like when you step out of the emotional cruise director role. So picture it's the same setting, same people, and the same tensions, actually, but this time you're not automatically playing the role you've been in for years. Your aunt makes the same comment and your dad starts to get cranky, but instead of leaping in to smooth things over, you let the moment land where it lands. It's not your job to rescue adults from their own discomfort. You notice that you have that little jolt of vigilance. So then you say, I'm going to go step outside and get some air. And you leave the room just neutrally without any drama or snarkiness. You now know that you can set tiny boundaries for yourself as needed. And you don't have to tell anyone what you're going to do. You just do it when you need to. When your cousins start bickering, you hear it and you just keep chopping vegetables. Their tension isn't your responsibility to fix or smooth over. Someone hints that you should keep things positive like you usually do, but you clearly and kindly just say, it's not my job to manage it. You check in with yourself throughout the evening about whether problems are yours to solve, and you take breaks when you need to. You give yourself permission to just be a participant and not be in your usual role. You set your own limits around how long you'll stay and how much energy you'll spend. By the end of the night, you notice you're not worn out. You're present and grounded. You're tired in a normal human way because it was important to you to help out, and that did take some energy, but not in a way that's completely depleting when you're doing all the emotional labor to keep everyone getting along. If any of this second part sounds like how you'd like it to be, not just around the holidays, but year-round, you're definitely not alone. Example number 2. The next one is a combination of the overfunctioning and overdoing theme and the overly responsible theme from my workbook. We'll call this combination the tradition keeper. It starts around early December when the first text rolls in. We should do gingerbread houses again. You nod to yourself, right, gingerbread weekend, of course. Then you remember the handmade ornaments that you've done every year since forever, and the special breakfast on the morning of the 24th, and the holiday cards with thoughtful handwritten notes that take you so many hours to do, and the cookie tins for the neighbors, and the Secret Santa mini gifts for your coworkers, and on and on and on. Before long, you're juggling a list that seems impossible to finish in time. You're up at midnight with aching feet and your kitchen a disaster, baking the signature cookies. You can't even remember who declared these cookies a tradition, but now you feel like it'll be a moral failure if you abandon it, even though it's all on you. The next night, you're hand lettering holiday cards and writing personal notes, even though your eyes are tired and the words don't even feel sincere anymore. You push through anyway because people might feel forgotten if you don't send them. Then the holiday arrives and you orchestrate the timeline, take mental responsibility for everyone's emotional state. You try to make sure no one is disappointed, that you didn't forget or overlook anything, and that you honored the traditions that each person really likes. You love your people and you love meaning, but somewhere in the rush of producing holiday magic, you lost sight of what's important to you, and it became about everyone else. By the end of the season, you're exhausted, resentful, and feel taken for granted because you made it all happen almost single-handedly. Here's what it can look like when you stop over-functioning and over-responsibilizing, for lack of a better term. So it's the same month, same situation, same long list developing, but this time you check the list against what's actually important to you. You ask yourself what makes you feel joyful and connected, and on the other hand, what feels obligatory. You decide that the gingerbread event stays because you love that one. You decide that the handmade ornaments take a pause this year. You realize you've been doing them out of habit, not because you really want to. You decide that doing the holiday cards the way you've been doing them feels kind of forced now, and it drains your energy. So you decide to send a group email instead. When your kids look mildly unimpressed by the special breakfast that you made, you don't take it personally, but you make a mental note to try something different next year and maybe have the kids help plan the menu. You decide to take a break this year from making your signature cookies. You simplify and focus on the traditions you and the kids love that feel most meaningful to you, and you let other adults have their own feelings and judgments about it. Some people might be disappointed, but you realize it's not your job to make sure that no one's disappointed. If it means enough to them, they can make it happen themselves. By the end of the season, you're still tired, but you notice you don't feel emotionally burnt out like you have in the past. And you also notice that you were actually able to experience some joy this season. Any of example number 2 feel familiar or sound like something that you'd like? Example number 3. This one is a combination of the more emotionally based themes in my workbook: the fear of being disliked or judged, and the guilt and shame theme. Let's call this combination the limit avoider. So you're in the kitchen stirring something on the stove when your cousin texts you saying, "Great news, we're all staying at your house again this year. Can't wait." You get a sick feeling in your stomach. You hadn't invited anyone to stay at your house this year. And you'd pictured a quiet holiday, a day that didn't require figuring out logistics, cleaning and grocery shopping for guests, and keeping people entertained and happy. But your mind tells you that you can't say no because they'll think you're selfish or be mad at you. So you text back, "Of course, happy to have you." While inside you're thinking, "I don't want this. I'm tired and I need space this year." But you immediately start writing the mental list: meals, towels, sleeping arrangements, accommodating everyone's quirks and sensitivities. By the time they arrive, you feel kind of numb and you smile and host and accommodate. But when it's all over, you collapse physically and emotionally, just drained from carrying the weight of everyone's comfort except your own. And you didn't get the quiet holiday you wanted. And here's what it can look like when you say no to what doesn't work for you. Same kitchen, same message comes through, but this time you pause and breathe, and then you check inward. You ask yourself, do I actually want this? And do I have capacity for it? And the answer is clear right away. No. Pretty predictably, the guilt shows up and the fear of disappointing people. But now you recognize it as just an old pattern and that it doesn't mean anything about what you have to do. So you text back and say kindly, I love seeing everyone, but hosting won't work for me this year. Maybe we can meet up another time while you're in town. Your heart beats a little bit faster as you hit send just from the unfamiliarity of saying no and setting a limit. When your cousin replies, "Oh, okay, no worries, we'll figure something else out," you feel a little shock of relief. There was no negativity at all. Maybe they're disappointed, but you realize they're allowed to have their feelings about it. And you're allowed to take care of yourself and honor your own needs. You enjoy your quieter holiday and you're content knowing you listened to yourself and you took care of yourself this time. And the world didn't collapse. Anything in this example sound familiar or like something you'd like? Again, the part 2 of each of these examples is possible. I'd encourage you to become aware of how your own people-pleasing patterns are showing up this holiday, but without pressuring yourself to make big changes. Start by just noticing them and noticing the cost to you. And if you're up for it, see if there's one small thing you can change this year, one small limit you can set, or one thing you can let go of or not do that you usually do, just one tiny thing at a time. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments if any of these examples sound familiar or if you have other examples from the holidays that fit these people-pleasing themes. I'll do other videos in the future with examples of people-pleasing tendencies in day-to-day life, but again, this one that covers holiday themes can also apply all year. And don't forget to download my workbook. It's free and a perfect way to get started and explore at your own pace. There's checklists for the 12 people-pleasing themes that can help you spot where your patterns drain you. Thanks so much for watching.